Welcome back, everyone, to another behind-the-scenes episode here at the Inspired Writer Collective podcast. I am normally your host, Elizabeth, but with this series, I have invited guest hosts to come and interview me about the final weeks leading up to the publication of my debut memoir, Lonely Girl. Now, by the time you are watching this episode, it is released. It's out in the world. You can order it on Amazon. If you do want an author-signed copy, I do still have some here at the house that I'm happy to mail to you. You can order those directly from me through my website, whisperedwisdompress.com. But I want to introduce, again, Julie Sedler. She holds a tie for the most podcast guest appearances on our podcast here. And Julie, I'm so glad to have you back for this special week because this is that last week leading up to release day. And you've been on this journey and you've been such a sounding board for me as I've sort of followed in the steps behind you. I'm a year and a half, 2 years behind you as far as your first publication, something like that. So it's great to have you back. You were a key speaker at our Memoir Summit back in March. And you've been on the podcast a couple of times to talk about your own experience. And then as we talked about some of the emotions that have come up throughout the writing and publication process. So it felt so fitting. And I'm so grateful that you had the time to sit down for this mini episode of this behind the scenes, because you've lived this. You know what this is like leading into this release day and all the anticipation. But also you're trying not to have any expectations about what it's really going to look like. Yeah, that's where I'm at.
Yeah, tell me without telling me. So when I got ready to publish, I was actually pregnant. And so I thought it was interesting how birthing my human baby and birthing my book baby was very similar in terms of the path. And I had kind of had this vision of myself getting to the end and kind of breathing into a paper bag before I hit the go button. I totally thought that I was gonna have to do it scared when I got all the way to release day. And I found that just like birthing a human baby, by the time I got to the end, I was so far, I was I'm not scared anymore. Let's do it. I want to see what's on the other side of this. Do you where are you at mentally and emotionally? Are you kind of on that same track, or do you feel differently?
No, I would say I've been that for a while, but my month of June has been extremely stressful in ways I had not planned. I mean, I established when I was going to release this book back in end of last year sometime, and then found out in January that I'd be moving on top of the book launch, and then found out in May that my fiance would be having shoulder surgery in the middle of June. So we had the move, which he could not help with because his shoulder was injured. And then he had his surgery last week, and he was the guest host on last week's episode. And then on top of that, I'm juggling the book launch. So I think I was just at max capacity to where I had no space to fret about any of it. It was literally okay, this is the task that needs to be done. I need to get these orders packaged. I need to get, my books ordered. I need to make sure I have my stickers and my bookmarks and everything. And it was just checklist go mode. So I didn't really get too much in the feels as far as oh, I'm scared or anything. It literally was this has to get done, and I have to do it in the in-betweens of everything else. So
it's almost the book publication version of nesting, right?
Right.
Go time for everything. I can't even, I'm just gonna make another casserole to put in the freezer because I can't even think about anything else. And I think that's a really similar feels to me. It was just okay, there's these things, and you have the benefit of really you sent out a bunch of arcs and you already have reviews, and I was just such a newbie. I was such a novice. I didn't do any of those things, so I didn't really know what to expect. I feel you're far more prepared than I was. I felt I was just kind of totally trial by fire. But how does it feel because I had to wait a while for my reviews. So my reviews didn't come in until well after my book had dropped and been published. But how does it feel reading these reviews that are coming in before you even are out there?
Oh, it feels so great. And I highly recommend people, pursue some ARC readers. And, you don't have to do a ton, whatever like number. I think ultimately I think I asked like 25, and then I had like maybe 20 that like I sent stuff to. And like you said, a couple of them have posted their reviews already. A couple of them are working on it, and they'll come out within the next few weeks or so. And it does take away some of that like doubt you have, because up until that point, I had only had beta readers and proofreaders read the book, and these were people I hand selected that I knew in some capacity. So even their, reviews or impressions of the book are a little bit tainted and biased because they know me and they care about my story simply because they care about me, right?
Right.
But now as I'm getting these reviews from ARC readers who I selected because they have ARC reader platforms and they do book reviews as a regular thing. They read a lot of stuff. They like the memoir genre. I did try to find women that either had experience with motherhood or divorce or some of the themes that are in the book. And so it is special to get those reviews of like, ooh, people who don't know me are also drawn into this story and are also, much like my beta readers, like consuming this book in just a matter of days. And it's also really helpful for the marketing for me. I mean, this must have been torture for you to not have any of that, of like even knowing what to say about your book to people before you ever get the feedback about what readers are resonating with. It's been so
Right.
helpful to like have these keywords. I mean, I went into it like, I had my own kind of impressions, but it's so much easier when I can figure out like what's really resonating with the readers. What are the themes that keep coming up? Like this idea of like vulnerability and being raw and clear prose and, just a really like engaging storytelling that, you're really rooting for me as the main character in the book. And so to hear all that stuff, now it's like, oh, okay, now I have a direction I can market this in. I kept hearing like not a light beach read, but still quick and, will force you or invite you to think about your own life. So those are little taglines now that I can use to help, market the book and hopefully help it meet, its correct readers.
Yeah, I will definitely be pursuing ARC readers when I just finished my manuscript for my first draft for my second book. So
Mhm.
now that I'm gonna do this all over again, I have like the benefit of, knowing way more than I do now. But I agree with you because getting that data about your book, like, before it's released into the world, your
Mhm.
creative project just lives with you and you know how you
Mhm.
feel about it. But
Mhm.
people don't like acknowledge the vulnerability that it takes to release that into the wild. There's this phrase, this is nothing is ever birthed without pain. And this is one of those things where like you have to really face your fear when you release that into the wild, because once it's gone, it now has a life of its own, and you have no control over what
Mhm.
happens with that. And I think people do actually understand how raw and vulnerable that is. And that's why the statistics about writing books and publishing books, like there aren't very many people who actually bring that to fruition. So the fact that you're
Yeah.
here and you're on the precipice of it already puts you in this really small category of people, but it also means that you're very brave because you're willing to put that out there. Do you feel that way about, like, you have some validation already because how you feel
Mhm.
about the book is like what's being echoed back to you. And yes, it did take me a little longer to get to that, but I did get that back, and it does feel really good to be like, okay, my best polished version of my art is resonating with people in the way that it
Mhm.
resonated with me, and that's great. But like, how do you feel braver now? Like, it hasn't happened yet, but do you feel brave, like, leading up to this dropping on Monday, this happening?
For sure, in the sense that if I had reached this point like a year ago, I would have not been ready to step into like the promotion of it. I would not been ready to like really be an advocate for this book like I am now. And I think that does come from just the confidence and the practice and talking about it. I mean, at this point, I mean, this podcast has been running for 2.5 years. I was writing the entire time and I was talking about the book the entire time. Obviously, the concepts were a little bit more like rusty and unrefined in the beginning, but I've had all this time to practice and really figure out like what is this message and what is it that I'm trying to do. And then, like you said, like I just have this validation. Plus, I know a good book when I read it, and this book makes me cry every time I read it. And that seems so like
No, I
powerful
feel
to
the
me.
same way about mine.
If
Like
my
when I
own
pick it
book,
up, yeah, like I
yeah.
still feel the way that I feel. Yeah, you
So it's like if it's translating, even though I so intimately know the story, that I am still, ravenously turning the pages and like crying at the end. Like my editor said the same thing. Allison, like she was like, sent me a text that I got while I was on spring break with my daughter. And she was like, why is it that I'm sitting inside of I think it was the YMCA? I'm and I'm reading the end of the book again, and I'm crying for the third time every time I read this book. And I'm like, same girls.
That's one of those things with memoir because what you're writing about is something that has actually happened in your real life. That you know what's happened. Like you lived it. You've already been through it. You wrote about it, so you've like already reprocessed and like digested and really like refined what that is. And then, like you said, like I know a good book when I read one. So if I can go back in consistently over and over again and still feel the tug of those emotions, especially when you got to the end, like this is the kind of thing that will stand the test of. So just so you know, I do that too. Every once in a while, I will pick this up and I will read it cover to cover just to remind myself what I put out into the world, what my art looks like. Just like I think if you painted a painting, every once in a while, you go look at your painting and be like, yeah, that's good. I did that. And so it's the same thing with like consuming your own art. If it still moves you as the artist, then it is likely to move a consumer of your art. And I think that's like just the absolute best feeling in the whole world for someone who is an artist. And there's a Steve Jobs quote that real artists ship. So the people who make their art and then put it out into the world, they allow others to come in and consume their art or immerse themselves in their art. That is just like the next level of the journey. Speaking of the next level of the journey, once the book is out into the world, we don't talk about the book in the same way anymore because you have the access to the physical copy, the actual stuff. So how is your marketing mix kind of changing now that you're shifting gears from I'm about to have a product ready to I have a product ready?
Well, the thing that I'm most excited about, and I'll still have like, my social media presence and like talking about the book in that way. But now that I've been through this pre-order, pre-sale period, I've seen that has led to zero additional sales. Like everyone who's bought the book, I know in some capacity. And so I'm really excited to start doing some of these in-person events because there are some people who purchased the book who, like one woman I met on that spring break trip, and her family and my family ended up, like the kids ended up playing together. We went out to dinner together. It was like a super fun time. She bought 2 copies of the book and her book club's going to read it. So, there are people that I have very like newer connections with that are purchasing the book at this point. But all of it I can track back to some sort of one-on-one connection. There was even a major participant in the Memoir Summit, Sandra. Do you remember seeing her name pop up?
Mhm.
She bought a copy of the book, and I had followed up with her after the event. Not only did she engage directly with us during the event, but I'd followed up with her after the event to, thank her for the fact that she was like, you know, keeping the chat alive and whatnot.
Oh,
So it's
yeah.
like all these people that I created these beautiful like one-on-one connections with are the people who have actually shown up at the end of the day to purchase the book. And so I'm really excited to do more of that kind of one-on-one connection that you can do with live in-person events. So I have a local book launch here in Colorado coming up at the end of the week after its release. And then I'm excited to do author signings. I've signed up to have a vendor table at an event here at a park that's all around recovery because my sobriety is a big storyline in this book. And yeah, I'm just excited to start like connecting my story to other people's lived experiences in a very like in the moment, hands-on sort of way. I'm excited to start like sharing like actual quotes from the book, snippets from the book, readings from the book, because I think, at least for me, when I get to read a snippet of something that someone wrote, like that takes away any doubts of like whether I'm going to enjoy this book or not enjoy this book. And I think that helps people overcome that question of like, oh, should I buy this one? Am I going to like this? So I'm excited to do a lot more of that, a lot more of the live events.
Yeah, there's honestly, like, you'll find this out, but there's, like, no greater feeling in the world than just walking into an event and just having, like, a whole stack of your books, your own book. Do you have your I didn't know, so I put my picture on the cover of my book because I was like, "This is a book about me, so I'm gonna put my face on the cover of this book." That was the only vision I had of it in my head, but, like, you taking your book and, like, yeah, you're, like, you on the cover of this book. You have this
Yeah,
whole
I'm back
stack
here.
and yeah, you have, like, this whole stack and you're, like, walking into this event and then, like, people you don't know, like, come up and, like, tap to pay and, like, "Yeah, I'm super excited about this." Like, it is a joy that I cannot, like, fully express to you, and I'm so excited that that's in your future, that you get to experience that, but I wanted to
Mhm.
just kinda touch on the whole the only people I know have bought a copy of this so far. It's kind of like throwing a stone into a pond and, like, watching
Mhm.
the ripple, like, it will branch out, and then I was shocked the first time that, like, someone I didn't know bought my book and then, like, sent me a note saying, like, "I read your book. I'm super excited about your book. Do you wanna come on my podcast?" And I was like, yes, but also I have
Yeah.
no idea who you are, but, like, I'm so happy that you found it and that it resonated with you. And so I'm excited for you to have, like, that
Yeah.
experience, but it kinda snuck up on me, and I really wasn't prepared for, like, how it made me feel inside, so I'm excited to touch base with you in the future when you get to that point and see, like, what you have to say about that, and so or see if it's just is it just me? Is it just me that felt that way? Because being an author and being a writer, because you do it on your own can feel like such a
Mhm.
solitary path that sometimes it's really easy to kind of fall into that. Maybe it's just me. Maybe I'm the only one in the world who ever feels this way. When oftentimes it's maybe more like a universal experience. So we will have
Yeah.
to circle back to that. Um,
Absolutely.
I want to ask you another question. Like, in your dream scenario of, like, in-person events, like, what's your dream thing, like, to go to with your book? Like, is there something that's you're, like, eyeing or, like, do you have, like, what would you like to do? My dream is to, like, be on, like, the Kelly Clarkson show, like, talking about my book, like, that's my dream to, like, chat about my book, but, like, what's yours? Like, maybe if we put it out there in the world, we can
Yeah.
manifest it.
The one that, like, I thought about all the time as I was writing the book is going on the We Can Do Hard Things podcast, and they disbanded the podcast for a little while, and they built their own media company, and so I think they've brought it back. I don't know. I don't have time to listen to many podcasts anymore, so I don't know if it's back or not, or if they've all just kind of done different things because they put out movie and they put out a bunch of different stuff. I actually did try to mail this book, to Amanda Doyle, so Glennon Doyle's sister, because I actually think she will resonate more with the storyline of the book than Glennon would. But their podcast is mentioned in this book. So I really wanted to send them a copy and have not been able to find a mailing address or anything. So I may just have to send an email and they'll give me a mailing address
Yeah, there you
to
go.
a crazy woman that wants to send him a book. I also, I don't know, there's this whole sphere of women that I just really, adore, and they're all friends with each other, and I've been strategizing how to break into this friend group with this book. And so it's like Brene Brown, and then there's Glennon Doyle in her group, and then there's Brandy Carlisle. So I did send a copy of the book to Brandy Carlisle.
I saw that online.
Um,
I was like,
yeah.
yay.
So I don't know if I've used the right address. I don't know if she'll ever get it. Someone will get it. Someone will open it. Someone will see my beautiful handwritten note on like rainbow paper, expressing the fact that I deeply hope that the book will get to her. And I don't know. I just tried to put the good juju out into the world, and whatever's meant to happen will happen. But yeah, I guess I kind of always imagine like some kind of podcast chat. Podcasting probably because that's just what I've become so accustomed with. Some kind of fun podcast conversation. And I'm really, really excited to have those conversations with people who have read the book. Like, I'm excited to talk about this book. Like, it's kind of the classic, like, where you've read this amazing book and you want all your friends to read it so they can talk to you about it. Like, I'm just dying to get to that point where people are ready to talk about the book. Like, not the process of writing a book, which is fun, or all of this, like, pre-marketing stuff, but, like, actually having conversations with those who have read the book, experienced the book, and, like, get to hear some of that and talk about, like, maybe how my writing choices played into how they interpreted things or any of that. But I'm open to whatever form that takes.
All right. Well, this is us manifesting. We're putting it out there. We're saying this or better. That's what we're hoping for, because the cool thing about putting out a book is that it is now evergreen content. It just lives forever. And we can come back to marketing it or ramp up our marketing at literally any time. Which makes me feel good, because sometimes life is just lifing really hard as you are in the middle of knowing right now. Like, if you don't push yourself to 110% right now leading up to your publication date on Monday, that's okay. It's gonna be okay. Like, you're still gonna be able to market this book even after this book is out. And I think that's just like, it makes me feel better knowing that, like, I'm not failing at anything. I'm not behind at anything. I'm not, you know, anything. It doesn't have to mean anything. It just means that I'm a human and I'm living life and things are happening, and you still have time. I still have time. I'm really saying this more to read.
It's for everyone.
It's for everyone. It's advice for everyone. Is there anything else? Because this is the last behind the scenes that's going to drop.
Pre-release. Yeah, we'll do one more next week that I'll talk about how the launch party goes. I'll talk about what release day ends up feeling like. I'll let you know if I've met my goal of 100 copies sold by the end of my live event. I'm already, I think, 62 copies have been sold through the pre-order, so that's incredible.
Yeah.
And that doesn't count the Amazon ebooks. That just counts the books that, like, I've shipped out. Yeah, I sometimes I wonder, like, how it's gonna feel on release day, and then I look at my schedule and I have a dentist appointment.
This teeth have still got to get clean, baby.
I have post-op, like, doctor's appointment 2.5 hours away from my fiance's surgery he had last week. And so I really think the day of is going to be sort of anticlimactic, and that's okay with me. And I kind of need it to be, because, like, it's literally one day. And then, like you said, you have the rest of the time to, promote things, since all the books have shipped. Like, I already dropped them off at the post office. They're already on their way. I've checked all my boxes. I've done everything I need to do. I'm sending out some reminders for people who are planning to attend the local book launch event in person. But otherwise, it's kind of like, I've done the pushing, I've done the labor, I've done everything I can do, like you've said in that analogy to birth, and it is what it is. So,
yep.
We'll just take it from there. But thank you for joining me this week, Julie. It's always great to have you come on the podcast. Again, if anyone is interested in a copy of this book, which is releasing today as of this recording release, you can find the ebook and paperback on Amazon. If you are in the US and you want an author signed copy plus those freebies I'm sending out with those, the sticker and the bookmark, then you can find that on my website, whisperedwisdompress.com, and those are basically shipping out the very next day. So hop on there if that's of interest to you. And thank you, everyone, for the support. Thank you, Julie, for being here with me.
Congrats. This is a milestone for you, and I'm so excited to be a part of it. But also, where's my invite to the launch party? Rude.
If you want to come all the way to the small mountain town, by all means, anyone can come. But yeah.
I don't know. I would have at least considered it. I do love a party. All right, Elizabeth, congrats to you. Thanks so much for having me. I really appreciated being a part of this. I'm so proud of you. Well done.
Thank you. Thank you. Thank you.